Okay, so we're looking at part 3, and we took some notes yesterday all about what happened to show that time was passing in the story. And they're asking here what specific details. So, as I'm looking at my notes and as you're looking at yours, it looks like first off, we know that they're searching for a month. And then the days get colder and the leaves change color. And then there's snow and most of the animals are inside. And then there's melted snow and it's warmer and there are budding trees and flowers and leaves. So those are kind of all the details of what was happening in the story. One thing to note too is that back here when it is spring, I wanted to show you this. Okay, how can we tell that this is spring? What are we seeing here? Well, we're seeing the blossoms on the trees, all right, which happens in spring, because we know that these blossoms are going to fall off, and then in their place we have some sort of fruit or seed that's going to grow. So back here, when we weren't exactly sure what season this was, when the dogs were looking, I think we know now. I think by looking at the green trees here, I think we definitely know that this happened in the summer. So we're just going to write down a few of these little details, and we want to answer this in a complete sentence. So, what details does the author share about the passage of time? Okay, so we're going to start with the author shares that the leaves changed color and you know what, I also want to put that part where it says grass bent to the ground, because that's just a great way to say that the grass was dying. Okay. So the author shares that the leaves change color and the grass bent to the ground. All right, so those are two details. Then the author shares what do we have next? Okay, that it's winter, it's snowy, it's windy. And I'm not even going to put winter down yet. I'm going to save that. So I'm going to say, then the author shares that it is snowy and windy. Okay. Now we're not going to write down every little detail that we have because we don't have room. Okay. So we're just writing down some of them. Okay. So first we have the author shares that the leaves changed color and the grass bent to the ground. Then the author shares that it is snowy and windy. Okay. Then after that, let's pick some of these. Then we have melted snow and budding trees and flowers and leaves, okay? And the flowers showed their young faces. So let's put, finally, the author shares that the snow is melting and the trees and flowers are budding. Oh, that was a lot of writing. Okay, good work. So you can take a second to get that copied down, hit pause if you need to. But we've got some really good details. Okay. The author shares that the leaves change color and the grass bent to the ground. Then the author shares that it is snowy and windy. Finally, the author shares that the snow is melting and the trees and flowers are budding. Okay. Those are all great details from the story. And you didn't even have to have those exact details. If you wanted to have any of the details that show the passage of time, other than, if you wanted to have that the animals were inside, or they were hibernating, or the flowers showed their young faces, if you want to change it up, you can too. All right. We have finished the first rung of the ladder. We're going to move up to number 2. It says, how would you categorize the details? So how would we put these into groups? Well, I would say definitely if I were going to group these details, I'd group them by the what? What would you say? By the seasons. Okay, so I would definitely group them by the seasons. So we can just put that down. Now, if you would group them another way, you can write that down. But if categorize means to put them in groups, and if we're putting things in groups, I would definitely choose to put them in groups by the seasons. Okay, so how would you categorize the details? We're going to answer in a complete sentence. I would put the details in groups by season. All right. And you know that when the story starts, it's what season? It's summer. And then it changes to fall. And then it changes to winter. And then it changes to spring. Okay. So I think, we would definitely group those details by season. And we can write that because we start with summer. That's when the story starts. And then it goes to fall. And then it goes to winter. And then it goes to spring. And one thing I learned is that you actually don't capitalize the seasons. And I always forget. don't capitalize the seasons. Okay, so if we're not going to take the time to write it, but summer would be, green leaves and people are outside, and fall would be changing colors and leaves falling off the trees. Winter would be snowy and windy, animals inside, all those details. And spring would be, the blooms, the flowers showing their faces, the blossoms on the trees, the snow melting, the buds, all of those different things. Okay, we're ready to move up to the top. This says, what generalizations? Now remember, we learned a couple weeks ago what a generalization is. So what is a generalization? Okay, something that is true or almost always true.